The wait is over. You were waiting, right?
Oh, God. No. Please, no.
The end is nigh. Darwin and Cat are back.
Music. Everybody loves it. Or at least most people do. But for some of us, it goes deeper. For the weird kids, the out-of-place adults, and the obsessive souls in between, music isn't just background noise. It's a lifeline. It was for me, and it definitely was for Kat. In this episode, we're diving into the songs and albums that shaped us, the tracks that lifted us up, held us together, and led us right into our radio careers. And as a side note, we'd love to play these songs for you, but copyright reasons are the reason we can't. We respect intellectual property, and if we have time and aren't lazy, maybe we'll put together a Spotify or Apple Music or both playlist, but I'm not promising that can happen this week.
Ooh, good idea. So, Darwin, all this music talk started when you texted me that Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys was dead. Mm-hmm. And you said, I can't even make a joke about this one. And it's true. Yeah. And that's about as reverent as we get.
Yeah. Any other celebrity, we've made a joke when they died. I saw that one. I was like, I just can't. You turned me on to Pet Sounds, the legendary Beach Boys album years ago.
I did. And Pet Sounds is a classic music nerd best album pick. You will find it on every top 10 albums, rock albums of all time, because it's got innovative production. It's got emotional depth and lasting influence. Plus, there are cute goats on the cover, which actually Brian Wilson wasn't crazy about.
How could you not like goats?
I know. They're so cute.
But Brian Wilson also had a lot of challenges in his life, and that could be its own podcast. But I do want to say, one of the things I've learned over the years is I've gotten more into older music and reading about it and how was it made. I'm a big fan of that. There was a group that in later years became known as the Wrecking Crew.
The best top studio musicians working in the world at the time.
Yes. And there are several books on them, and some songs you probably know. You wouldn't have any idea it was the Wrecking Crew that was playing the instruments on. There were some bands, actually, it's kind of funny, where they would send them on the road to tour, but they wouldn't let them record their own music because they wanted it to be the Wrecking Crew.
Well, that's essentially what Brian Wilson did with the Beach Boys. He's like, I'm not going on the road anymore. Sent those guys out, and while they're out on the road singing Barbara Ann somewhere, an orchestra comes in and the Wrecking Crew comes in and they make this gorgeous, lush, innovative album. And then the band comes back and they're like, what the fuck, Brian? That's just one of the reasons I love that album so much.
Me too. And that the Wrecking Crew was, the Pet Sounds was like, that was one of their, most notable ones. If you just Google songs by the Wrecking Crew, you will get a list of songs that'll blow your mind. Songs you wouldn't even think that were other artists on it. And then it's so cool to read about them.
So who's going to go first? So I wanted to pick 3 influential albums, artists that kind of shaped us. Do you want to jump in? Or I know it's ridiculous, but I don't want to be here for like the next 12 hours.
You will be. I'm not sticking with 3.
Okay. Oh, you are such a rule breaker. Look at you. I put down my little rules and I make a little format. Nope. Sorry, Kat.
I couldn't even pick 10.
I know it's hard. It's so hard.
There's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. What do you got? Why don't you start with your, 3 plus?
All right. So I'm going to start by saying I'm not trying to be cool. I'm not going to cite some experimental album that sounds like an atonal car crash. Sometimes with these lists, people try to impress each other with their obscure musical tastes. Like, oh, this track was released in Denmark in 1981. You wouldn't know it.
Toilet. Toilet, toilet. Toilet, toilet. Toilet, toilet. Toilet, toilet. Toilet, toilet.
Right? Something horrible. So I know. Maybe that was a hit, on the Turkish dance charts, 1974. It's so hard with only 3 because I'm such a music nerd, but I'm going to start with the Monkees' debut in 1966. Sweet Young Thing, Last Train to Clarksville, the Monkees.
The Monkees. Better than, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, or the Stones?
Well, okay. All right. It's not a matter, Darwin, of better. It's what emotionally resonates. And I say yes, because anyone can say, hey, the Monkees weren't a real group. But I will fight you to the death on that because, like Pinocchio, they became real later once they recorded Headquarters in 1967. They took over playing their instruments. It's just more than the music. They were funny. They were cute. They made me obsessed with playing the drums when I was 3 years old. Even if you watch the old episodes, like the drums were like set up all weird. But what did I know? I was a toddler watching the reruns. Also, I would pretend that they lived in my closet and I'd bring Davy little snacks.
That's so cute.
Yeah, you know.
But yeah, F the other one.
Yeah, I didn't care if they ate. They can starve.
Screw them. By the way, the Wrecking Crew played the instruments on their first 2 albums.
Yeah, the Wrecking Crew, Glenn Campbell stepped in. But it was a big controversy because 2 of the guys, Mike Nesmith and Peter Tork, were actual musicians and were kind of promised that they'd be able to play. And of course, they wrote songs. The other 2 were more actors. So
while you're letting them starve in the closet, they can't play their instruments and they're not getting fed at your house. What a life.
they were bitter. They were very, very bitter. So the standout track for me is Papa Jean's Blues, and that was written by the late, great Michael Nesmith. And Mike Nesmith invented country rock. He invented a prototype for MTV, which became MTV. Everyone knows that he was the heir to the liquid paper fortune. If you're old enough to remember typing, making a mistake, and getting out your little liquid paper, and you sniff it first, you get a little buzz off it, and then you paint up your paper and you type over it, but you can't be impatient because it's not going to be dry. It's going to like...
Yes.
His mother invented that. His mother when she was a secretary. So that's my first one, the Monkees' debut. And it was hard to pick just one Monkees album, but I just went with the classic. So what's your number 3?
Well, we're going to not count mine because I have a lot. So I'm just going to start with...
Okay. We're not even counting? What's the point of it? All right, Kat. Stop being so obsessive about your
You
list.
can count.
I have lists for everything, Darwin. Everything I do is on a list. All right. I'm going to try to calm down and you go.
I'm going to do my top one and then work just outward from there.
You're
How's
just
that?
fucking this whole thing up. All right, fine, go.
Oh, you're welcome. That's why we're friends.
Exactly.
All right. I'm going to go my top one because, I love Frank Sinatra. I'm a huge Frank Sinatra fan. It's hard to pick a favorite Sinatra album, and it might vary, but one that I always come back to is Frank Sinatra Sings Only for the Lonely.
Yes.
And it got a Grammy for the cover art, which was terrible.
What was on the cover?
It's him
Just like
painted
his
as a
shoe
clown.
or something? Like, what is that?
Yeah, him like a clown.
Ew. Oh, I know that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
I hate the album artwork. I really do. And he would paint clowns, but still, it stands out far and above.
Is that why Mia Farrow divorced him? Because of the clown paintings? Or no, he divorced her.
I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I don't know that off the top of my head. Maybe no one knows that yet. But this album, it's melancholy, but it's not depressing, but it's beautiful.
Unlike clowns.
Yes, the cover I can do without. He's saying his emotions, and nobody did it better than he did. And I prefer the mono version of the album. There's a big fight about this, but the stereo version is in a class of its own. And it's amazing when you listen back and you listen to the different experiences and how different they can be. The depth of emotion in that album. And if you want to start off with going deeper into Sinatra than New York, and My Way and all that, start with Sings Only for the Lonely.
A solid choice. I love that.
My choices are going to get really weird.
Okay.
So let's hear your number 2.
Okay, because I'm sticking to the rules. This is my number 2. All right, my number 2 was released in 1977, and it is their only studio album. Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols.
I thought you were going to go with another group, but...
Oh, I have to name this one. So now picture this.
Okay.
I heard this when I was little, pre-Punk Cat. I saw them coming to America and puking on everything, and I got really scared, and I hid under the kitchen table. But fast forward, I'm in the 7th grade, and I got a hold of this record, and oh my God, punk rock changed everything for me. It made me feel like there were other freaks out there like me. And this album, what I love about it is it sounds as fresh today as it did when I was hiding under that table. All the songs are great, which is rare for an album because filler songs, skip. Nope. All the songs are great. Everyone knows Anarchy in the UK, God Save the Queen, but my standout track is Submission. It's like a bizarre love song. I love that song. But I have to say, okay, now the
No,
serious.
this album is a solid choice too. I'm
Actually, just
impressed.
of this from start to finish. But as much as I love the Sex Pistols, I hate Sid Vicious. And I never hear anybody talk about that because I hate him because I'm a cat lover. You can look it up. I won't talk about it because I will cry. Also, Sid could barely play a note. And he just sucked in so many ways. He just had kind of he was such a poser. He just kind of had the look, but he didn't have the musical talent. He was a dickhead. I'm really glad that today and all the reunions, Glenn Matlock rejoined the band. He was the original bass player. And despite creepy Sid, this is just one of the greatest music moments in time.
He was kind of I would say, just for people so they don't have to Google it, because I know what this is about.
Yeah.
Definitely sociopathic behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't even play on most of the album. I think he might only play on 2 songs because he was so talentless. So it's okay. I love that album. And actually, Darwin, I have a story, if we have time, about being a middle school punk and what an unhinged mom did to me. And maybe we can talk about that. We do have time for that after your enormous list. If we have time, I will tell you that story because I don't think I've ever told you this. All right. No, I got it.
This is a new one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we will make sure that I will zoom through my list then. How's that? I'm going to give you 2 for 1 here.
Ooh, I like a BOGO. I do. I'm not going to lie.
So I'm going to jump into jazz real quick. And I know this is so cliche, but it's also an amazing album. Kinda Blue by Miles Davis.
Oh, I love that album. I just love chilling out and listening to this. Oh, that's great. Okay.
Jazz isn't jazz without that album.
Right.
And I have it on vinyl, which is the best sounding version of it to me. I don't care if it's cliche. It's a damn good album.
Good is good. What are you going to do?
And I'm going to stay with jazz for a second. The album that put jazz really onto the mainstream stage and more the big band version of jazz. The famous 1938 Carnegie Hall Jazz Concert by Benny Goodman. Get it. Listen to it.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow. I'm surprised. That is good. Wow. I didn't expect that. I learned something new about you, that you like Benny Goodman.
Of course I do.
That's cool.
But my range of music is like a crazy person.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
I am a potential crazy person. But that album, the version of Sing Sing Sing, which is probably the most recognizable song on that album, is
which I'm not even going to hum because we're going to get a copyright strike. But yes, imagine it in your mind.
Well, as a drummer too, you probably would appreciate the incredible drum solo in that song.
It's great. It's great. I'm not a jazzy gal, but I do appreciate it.
Okay, so let's hear. Do you want to go to your number 1?
Sure. Okay. My number 1. You know me well. You probably know that this album means the most to me and made me the drummer I am.
I know where you're going to go with this.
Beauty and the Beat by the Go-Go's.
Yay.
At the time that this came out, I wished I was older. I could have seen the Go-Go's in their original punk formation playing at the Starwood and the Whiskey. My older friends got to see them back then. Well, when this album came out, it was a very polished version of their punk songs, but it still had all that raw punk spirit. And it was okay, here's the sad part. It was so important to me at the time because I had a very close family member who was hospitalized with depression. My home life was a disaster. It was a perfect recipe for turning me into a little punk rocker who plays the drums. And I listened to Beauty and the Beat over and over, and I taught myself to actually play the drums and to play them pretty properly because Gina Schock is just a human metronome. And this album showed me a couple things. It showed me that girls can rock and write songs and be in a band and be super cute. And I just want to say thank you, Go-Go's, for getting me through an unbearable time. And
that is so impressive.
You know how music can save you.
You're so impressive.
Really?
Yeah, you channeled a depression into learning how to play the drums, and you found that this is why we're doing this episode. Music is so important in our lives.
Yep. Well, I figured it was better to beat the hell out of a drum kit than somebody else or myself. Yeah. But I didn't even have a drum kit. I had 2 sticks and a drum pad and my bed. And it wasn't until the next year that I bought a drum kit from the drummer of TSOL, legendary punk band, that was salvaged from a circus act, and it actually said Draglovich Circus Brothers on it. And I played, and I played the hell out of those for years. So with my circus drum kit and my Go-Go's album, I learned to play.
I learned something new. I did not know you had the circus drum kit. And I want to ask you about standout tracks, but before I do, I have to confess, when I was little, because we're about the same age, but I'm a little bit, and I was I was younger and I always confused the Go-Go's with the Bangles. I know they're nothing alike. Nothing alike.
Actually lived in my neighborhood. They're older than I am. We actually went to the same high school, like a decade apart. Yeah, no, the Bangles were great.
They're not even in the same league.
No,
as...
well, I love the Bangles, but they're very based on jangly 60s pop.
Yes.
And the Go-Go's music is based on more like surf guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of dumb when I was younger. And now as I'm older, I'm like, how was I so stupid?
As long as you didn't mix them up with Bananarama.
Oh, God.
Who I don't even hate, but like they didn't even play anything. Not even the triangle, those three girls. Not a wood block between them.
They've been forgotten. So what are your
I
standout
remember standout tracks, Automatic, This Town, of course, Our Lips Are Sealed, which is completely gorgeous, and Can't Stop the World by the brilliant Kathy Valentine, who I have met, and she's an absolutely lovely, cool person. Very,
That's
very
great.
nice go-go. I'm not saying the others are bitches. I have just met Kathy, and she is lovely. I'm sure they're all nice.
That's great. I just love that for you. And you just recently saw them.
Oh, yeah. I saw them at Vegas and at Palms Casino, at the Pearl Theater. Just great full sound. I don't care how old a band gets. If I love them, just crawl out on stage. I'm not saying they need walkers. I'm just saying that like rock and roll is aging and they still have it. It's not like, ooh, cringe. No, they're fantastic.
You're not worried they're going to break a hip on stage.
No.
Not yet.
This tour is sponsored by Pfizer for Strong Bones.
So how do you want to do this? Because I have a list. Do you want to hold on to your number one and I'll spit a few out?
Well, that was
Or
my
do you
number
wanna-
one.
I'm sorry. My number. Oh my God. Let me ignore that. Sorry. Because I don't really have a number one. I have some that I'm sure you're going to go with here. Because again, remember I said I was really diverse in my music?
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to one that everybody loves. And if you don't, check your head. Motown.
Oh, of course. Oh, I was Motown obsessed as a teenager.
So the Motown sound. a lot
Hitsville,
of people
USA,
realize-
baby. Detroit. Go
Yes.
for it.
Their echo chambers were the attic of the house that was shellacked, and it was a real specific sound. And echo chambers can be a big part of the sound of a whole recording company. And it's really hard to choose an album from Motown because, Berry Gordy.
I thought you were going to say Barry Williams from the Brady Bunch. Yes,
Not him.
Barry, Berry, Barry Gordy.
Yes. He was sharply focused on putting out hit singles at the time and not so much the albums. Not fantastic albums, but the albums, they were kind of secondary, but they were great.
Singles were king back then.
And he knew that. I would say Martha and the Vandellas Dance Party, because I think that album helped revolutionize that summer sound.
Nice.
It's just a great album. Dancing in the Street.
Of
Just like
course.
think about that. And the Supremes, I think they could record nothing bad.
I love the
And-
Supremes. Oh my God. Supremes used to hang out outside the house, the Motown house. And
Yeah.
anytime Barry Gordy or any of the important people would walk by, they would just start singing. They were teenage girls. And then did you know there was 4 of them?
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 Supremes, but one got married and dropped out. Oops, could have been a
Oh
Supreme.
my! And the people did that back then. Oh, I got married. I don't need a career.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the legend goes, I don't know if this is true, but the legend goes with the Supremes that somebody was sick one day and they needed some backup singers. Hey, girls, finally, why don't you come in and sing on background on this big hit?
I've heard the same thing. Yeah, their singles are all incredible.
Do you
But
know
I
their
would
original
think-
name?
Yeah, what was the original name?
It was the Primettes because there was a singing group called the Primes. And they were the Primettes. So boys
Primettes.
and girls. Yeah, it sounds like a pasta. Like I'll have Primettes with Alfredo sauce. So I'm
That's
glad
good
they
that they-
became the Supremes. It's fitting of them.
I would say their album More Hits by the Supremes. That was a great album. If you have to pick an album from them.
Can I add one more thing about the Supremes? I'm
Please
stepping
do.
all over it because I'm obsessed with them. They became Diana Ross and the Supremes, and then Diana Ross left. And post Diana Ross, they have a couple of good songs, Stone Love and Floyd Joy. So check those out,
Yes.
especially Stone Love. That's like probably my favorite Supreme song, and Diana Ross isn't even on it. So there.
There were 2 different sounds. You had the Diana Ross sound and she was just amazing. Amazing. So I'm going to get a little super weird here.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah, me, weird. What? So this one, I'm going to pick 2 albums from a really weird subcategory. So this one's really weird because it's part of that tiki space age exotica bachelor pad sound, okay?
Let me get my invisible martini.
Yes. And maybe a Mai Tai as well to go with this one.
Double-fisted drinker. Yes.
Yeah. So this one is Les Baxter, not Lex, Les Baxter. I'm friends with his daughter, Leslie, on Facebook, and I just love her. She's fantastic. And she gets really annoying when people say Les because it's Les. This album title probably would raise eyebrows today, and it's a little bit uncomfortable, but in the context of the time, it was a common term. And I got to explain this a little bit. The album is Ritual of the Savage.
Okay.
People might find that offensive, but the thing was,
That just sounds like my cats, like at feeding time.
okay,
That's
I
okay.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that version of it. The things people don't get about tiki and exotica movement of the mid-century was it was all about fantasy. And it was a hodgepodge of Polynesian cultures, and they weren't really appropriating one. They were just rolling little elements of them into one escapism package. And it's meant to be over the top and fictional. And I think Les Baxter, he was a fantastic composer, and he had a lot of music in this genre. And I think the March Times unfairly not continued to recognize that music. And also this whole tiki and escapism that people don't understand what it's about. It's not mocking Hawaiian culture or Polynesian or any Fiji or any island. It's an island that doesn't exist with a people that don't exist.
It's an island in your mind.
Yes. And that's the whole point of it. And it's got a really cool history to it. But Les Baxter, all of his albums are beautiful. All of them.
I love that choice. I've got nothing. I'm not going to snark at you. I just love it.
Oh, okay. You feel free to.
No, I know.
Maybe this one.
Believe me, I know.
You might. You've heard of Esquivel.
Yeah, of course.
And that's another legend in this genre. And one of my albums I absolutely as a go-to is not his it's his least popular one. It's called See It in Sound.
Why do you think it was the least popular one?
So Esquivel was definitely weird and experimental, and this one was too far for people.
Oh, okay. You
So he
crossed over the
did-
line, Esquivel.
Yeah, I think it's a great album because the title is you truly are seeing it while you're listening. And there's a cover of Brazil on there, and it tells the story without using any real words. So it's a guy who's out at a bar and Brazil is playing. And then you hear him, and this album had a lot of sound effects on it. So the guy leaves the bar and you hear his footsteps and the music kind of fades out and you can hear it. Then all of a sudden it's different. Like you can hear it from behind the door, and he gets in a cab and he goes to another bar. And that one's a
I
little
like
more
that night. Yeah.
a little
Mhm.
different.
Good old
but
bar
you hear-
crawl.
Yeah, and you hear the music playing as he's approaching the bar, and then when you hear to open the door, the music just fills your sound space.
Oh, theater of the mind. Nice.
Yes, and then he leaves there and goes to a third bar where it's a really ruckus sounding version of Brazil. Every bar is playing Brazil, and that one
Sounds
ends
like
up
he's
in a-
pretty hammered at this point, honestly.
and that's
Yeah.
and that's kind of the idea. Is
Yep.
he's just trashed.
Yep.
And the last bar, a bar fight breaks out.
Oh, geez.
So like they're still playing, but there's a bar fight going on.
See, tiki
and
bar
then-
fights must be the worst because everyone's drunk and hopped up on sugar. Those are sugary drinks.
You get it. See, you're getting this picture. You're
Yes.
seeing it in sound. You realize our guy is the culprit because you hear him running from the bar as the track ends. You hear the footsteps running down an alleyway. Speaking of Esquivel, when he recorded Latinesque, which either was his first album or his first big mainstream album, he had half the orchestra in one recording studio at RCA and the other half in another studio because he wanted to record a unique stereo sound. And the reason was RCA was going to give away this album for free with their new record players because stereo systems were new. And they wanted people to hear this ping pong kind of sound. So Latinesque is pretty cool as well. Have you ever heard that?
I don't think so.
It's another one. You should check it out.
Okay.
You appreciate it with headphones. Put it in.
Oh,
headphones.
yeah. They're definite headphone albums. That sounds like a good one. I'm just going to throw one at you
Okay.
or two because
Please
our
do.
list flew out the window. So I'm going to talk.
I'm sorry.
That's
I broke the
okay.
rules.
That's okay. I love Los Angeles punk rock, and I will always defend LA punk over New York and London because I think LA had the best songs, but it gets the least respect. I think we had the best songwriting in LA. Los Angeles, were one of the original punk bands in LA. They started at the Mask in 77, which was run by a man I got to know in his later years, Brendan Mullen. And it was a little porno theater. It was in the basement of the Pussycat Theater. And X
What a
started,
name.
Yeah, X started there. The Go-Go's started there. A lot of great bands, the Weirdos, the Screamers. And in 1980, X put out Los Angeles. And when I first heard the album, I was so young, I didn't understand any of it. I just loved the energy of it and thought the lyrics were, quote, grown-up music. A couple of years later, I really came to appreciate it. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. And I would also throw TSOL in there, the great Jack Grisham, who I know a little bit. He's a really, really funny, amazing author, artist, photographer. He's just a Renaissance punk man. So dance with me, TSOL. Okay. LA Punk.
I forget. What does TSOL
True
stand
Sounds of Liberty, because
All right.
they were one night, the band was watching a TV show and there was a Christian band on called The Sounds of Liberty. And one of the guys goes, we're the True Sounds of Liberty. And the band was born.
I almost for a second thought you had said TSOP, which is not punk.
What's
Sounds of Philadelphia.
TSOP? Oh, what is that, like a marching band?
No, it's actually a song from MFSB, which, oh my God, I don't know if I can remember what MFSB was, but it's just a song. It's really 70s cheesy.
Okay. Well, I have my cheesy side too, but it's not that.
Look up TSOP. It's not bad. It's
All
actually
right.
not bad.
Okay.
You might
It's not
appreciate it.
when you had me look up Errol Flynn's autopsy. It's not
Let's
bad.
not bring that up again. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
We're moving on.
Phil Spector.
Okay, there's a controversial figure.
Mm-hmm. He was bonkers, but I'm okay with his music again because he's dead and he's not going to profit from it. And he was known for the wall of sound. And I don't know if many people know what that is. I mean, are you familiar? Do you actually, you know what it is, I'm sure.
Of course, it is that big doom, 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 psh, with the drum sound, with the echoing vocals. He created what's known as the wall of sound with his bands.
Yes, and the wall of sound was, so he focused on singles as well. So he didn't always do the whole album. And they knew what the single was going to be when they're recording it. Part of the wall of sound too was, I don't want one piano, I want 3 pianos all playing the same thing, just to add more oomph to everything. It was just this over-the-top production. But part of it was because at the time, mono was king. And he made mono sound so alive. And one of the things in the recording studio, they actually had an AM transmitter that they would play the recording back through and go sit in the car to listen to it because they were wanting to make sure it was not only mastered for buying it on a vinyl, but that it also sounded damn good over AM, which AM used to sound pretty amazing.
Smart. Yeah. He also produced the classic Ramones album, End of the Century, which has, do you remember Rock and Roll Radio, Chinese Rock, great, great songs. And I believe the story is that he held the band, the Ramones, hostage with a gun in the studio till they finished recording it. He was an absolute loon. He was crazy. I mean, and he got crazier as he got older. I mean, you have the Crystals, you have the Ronettes, and of course he was married to Ronnie Spector. And if you read her biography,
it's sad.
It's very, very sad. Although there's one standout part that's sad, but I'm sick, so it made me laugh. He was so jealous of her, and he never wanted her to go out alone because she might meet another man. So he created this thing called the inflatable Phil. It was a blow up replica of himself, and she had to drive with it. And I'm just thinking, well, you can go in the HOV lane, so that's cool.
He was so crazy.
Imagine driving with an inflatable Phil. But yes, he was an astounding producer, but he did murder a woman. He went to prison for it.
Yeah.
Lana Clarkson, which is very sad.
But when you look at, the Righteous Brothers, their 2 big songs, Wall of Sound. And by the way, if you listen to the Unchained Melody and You've Lost a Loving Feeling, you got to find the mono version of it to really appreciate it. And another one that fits in that is from Ike and Tina, River Deep Mountain High.
Oh, nice. God, you have such a good list, man. My list is puny and sad.
Because I broke the rules. That's why.
Well, okay.
But River Deep Mountain High was a
a
flop on the radio because black stations thought it sounded too far from soul, and white stations thought it sounded too black.
Ah, geez, people, get it together. It's just a great song.
But the mono version, you have to, if you're listening to it, it's a stereo version. It's great. Find the mono version. You will not be disappointed. And speaking of Ike and Tina.
Ike was another problematic figure in music history.
Yes. Good way to say that. But him and Tina together, you think about Proud Mary, and that's on the album Working Together. Another fantastic album. Just when she comes in with that Proud Mary and they start nice.
Gives you the chills.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have any Elvis that you love?
Yeah, but I'm an Elvis fan post 50s. Okay, so I love like 1960 on Elvis. I respect 50s Elvis, but it doesn't really like do it for me. But like Marie's Her Name of my latest flame, that I love 70s Elvis. I love 70s
the
Elvis.
Fat Years?
I really do. I love Suspicious Minds. I love In the Ghetto.
Beautiful.
I really actually love that music.
With the unexplainable fade out in the song. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it comes back.
Right. The 68 comeback special, that's the Elvis I love. Because it makes me think, what could have been if you would have just put down the fried peanut butter sandwiches, backed off the barbiturates. You can still have fun, maybe shoot your TV, fine, Elvis. But just take care of yourself a little better. he could have gone on to third phase of his career.
It's just what we lost. It's so sad. with
Yeah.
Elvis.
What's your favorite Elvis era?
So I used to love those old cheesy beach movies.
Oh yeah,
that
Blue Hawaii.
And actually they would be playing on some random cable channel as a kid in the 90s. Like I would always love those movies. One of them stood out for me, and my parents had it on vinyl, and this might have been why I loved it. Paradise Hawaiian Style.
Oh yeah.
Nobody ever remembers that album, I feel like, but his like Hawaii USA, like, in that Elvis way. I'm like, I just absolutely think that's a hidden gem that gets overlooked in the overall Elvis canon.
That's what made me obsessed with Hawaii.
That song?
Yeah.
See, we had this connection. We
Yep.
did not know we had that album's just awesome. I
I
think
said,
it's really,
I didn't know where Hawaii was. What? I just knew I had to go there. It made me obsessed with Elvis, and I wanted to go to a luau, and I wanted to be Elvis's friend.
and that album did it. See, there's this power of music. It always has something to impact us. I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to shift gears totally away from Elvis and rock and go a little bit back into before the rock era.
Like Scott Joplin, like
Not that far
that.
back.
Okay, a jaunty
All right.
little piano number. What?
I wouldn't be able to do this episode without mentioning Billie Holiday.
Oh yes.
I'm going to, again, pick a weird one because Billie Holiday has standout songs all the way along, but there's one album that stands out for me, and it's because once you know the story behind it, it changes you. Lady in Satin.
I don't know this, so you're gonna have to lay it on me.
Oh, so Lady in Satin is, if you listen to it without knowing the backstory, you don't get it. First of all, the cover art's beautiful. It's my favorite photo of Billie Holiday. Her hair's back in a ponytail, and I think she's at her most beautiful. And what people didn't know is when that was released in 1958, she was dying. And she would be, I think about a year later, she wouldn't be around. On that album, I'd always wanted to record with strings. So it's Billie Holiday accompanied by a string orchestra. And although her voice is fading, it's still there. And she never sang with more emotion than she did on that album. And the first track is a tribute to Frank Sinatra, who was her favorite singer. And vice versa, she was his favorite. And it brought tears to his eyes when he heard this track. I mean, when she died, he locked himself in a hotel room and drank for 3 days.
Whoa.
Because he was so devastated.
Well,
He always
she
said,
died of complications due to drugs and alcohol. Did she not? Cirrhosis
Well,
of the liver, or no? Is that? I mean,
the
that's
government killed her. The government killed her.
what?
This is, so what happens, Billie Holiday's life story, I guess I have to get the context here. When she was a kid, below 10, she got raped.
Ah, jeez.
And her mother was working in a brothel, and she had this horrible upbringing. Almost every man she was in a relationship with beat her, stole her money. If I were her, I'd be addicted to drugs too. I'm just saying. She had a shit life. Even when she was famous, she was fighting those demons and people. And the government put a target on her back because she kept singing Strange Fruit, which was about lynching.
Ew.
And there's a whole story with
They're
this.
like,
and
pick
there was-
another topic, Billy. And she's like, no.
No. Yeah, and she stuck with it. And the drug task, the federal drug enforcement task, there was a guy there whose name I'm not going to even mention because F him,
Yeah.
put a target on his back. He wanted her dead. Like he had an
Oh.
agent. He hated black people, and he had an agent
Jesus.
pose to convince her to fall in love with him, and she did. And then he planted drugs on her and busted her. Again, yeah. So
I mean,
what
I
ended
saw
up
Lady
happening-
Sings the Blues like a million years ago, and I think who was in that?
Is it Dinah Ross?
Yeah, Diana Ross played her in I want to say
Something. There was something that she played her in. And so she ended up in the hospital dying from cancer. And her liver was failing.
oh, man.
And they took her off.
Billy D.
of-
Williams. Okay,
Oh,
sorry,
that's right.
Billy
that's
D.
right.
Williams.
Yep. They took her.
I almost
off
said
of-
Edward James Olmos, and that would have been so wrong. But I knew it was 3 names. Okay.
Yeah, that would have been really wrong.
Yep.
So they took her off of her methadone deliberately so she would suffer. And that's part of what accelerated her death. I mean, Frank Sinatra hated drugs, and he was trying to get her prescription for heroin, and he tried to buy some off the street, and he couldn't smuggle it in her room. He was trying to save her life. And she died with, I think it was maybe $40, $50 taped to her leg.
Oh
That was
my
all she had left in
God.
the world. And that was for the
Oh
nurse.
man, and when it's taped into your leg, it's just like it's kind of over.
Yeah,
That
I mean, yeah, but
sucks.
it's bad. Like they just,
Yeah.
her biggest fear was that she'd be forgotten. But I
No,
heard
well,
her
that's not
playing
gonna
at the
happen.
grocery store the other day. But Lady in Satin. So when you know the backstory,
What kind of grocery store do you shop at that they're playing Billie Holiday? That's like actually really cool.
yeah, it was.
I
Kind
mean,
of a
I thought it
random
was
one.
weird when I heard Flock of Seagulls, honestly, but Billie Holiday, that's very cool.
I think it was Whole Foods. But Frank Sinatra had one big regret in his life that he never recorded together with her. Could you imagine?
Oh, I thought you
The
said
two of
that I
them?
never banged that broad.
Well, he might have.
No.
We don't know.
We don't know.
There was this whole story that nobody really knows much about, but they spent a night together in Chicago out bar hopping and just hanging out with each other. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they got it on.
All right, I'm gonna throw one in here.
Okay, please do.
Okay, so I love The Cure. Fast forwarding ahead from
Wait,
Billy.
you mean the sad clown?
You always go reference with the sad clown. I think he only had a span of 5 years in his entire career where he did look like a weeping clown with a lot of like smeared Avon lipstick. You're really ruining it for me. This is one of my favorite albums in the whole world. It's Pornography. It was released in 1982. It's dark. It's gloomy. It is, if you are a depressed teenager or depressed teenager adjacent, it is the best music to sit in your room and have like a flickering candle and you just finished writing your sad poetry.
Okay.
The songs are great. It is so monstrously gloomy and brooding. I was going through a lot at the time, Darwin. It got that all out of me. And then like a year later, they were doing like Let's Go to Bed and being like more of a pop band so they wouldn't like throw themselves off a cliff. Because if they kept going in this direction, I don't think they'd be here today. We'd be doing a tribute to The Cure. We would not be talking about them still being around.
I do respect The Cure. I just remember once referring to him as a sad clown.
And
I
you
can't
just
ever
did
get
it
out of
again.
my head. I did
That's
it again.
right. You know what? It's true. I mean, I also love Adam and the Ants. Adam Ant, a yodeling pirate. See, when you have tastes like mine, you have to have a sense of humor about it. I mean, look at the early Adam and the Ants albums. I mean, he's a dandy highwayman. At one point, he was a fruity astronaut. I don't care. I love it. Have at, people.
Let me distract you with something that might have to do with where you grew up.
Sure.
This is going back to jazz, okay?
Oh, boy.
So this album just came out in 2020, but it was recorded in 1968. It's called, and I waited for it on vinyl, and I was so excited about this album, and I still am. Thelonious Monk live at Palo Alto. Did I say that right?
I love Thelonious Monk.
And it was do you know there's an album recorded at, is it Palo Alto? Am I saying that
Palo
properly?
Alto is
Okay,
Northern California. I grew up in Southern California.
Oh, wait, that's in Northern California? Where did you grow
You're
up?
thinking of Palos Verdes, where I grew up.
Damn it.
Which people either call Pacific Palisades or Palo Alto.
Oh my God. This whole time,
Yeah.
years since this album came out, I think about you a little bit when I see it, and I had it all wrong.
Nothing ever cool like that has ever happened in Palos Verdes. It's a very sleepy little town. We didn't even have a Burger King for decades.
Okay, so I guess I'll tell the incredible story behind it that wasn't your high school.
Where I didn't grow up.
Where you did not. So the story's cool. This teenager wanted to get into like the music business. Him and his friends were trying to put together a show at their high school, and he got a hold of Thelonious Monk somehow. I called him up, said, "Hey, would you play the show at my high school?" And Monk said, "Okay, kid, sure." And then the day of the show, they sold these tickets and they made posters, and they were like, "Is he actually going to show up?" And he did.
Oh, cool.
What makes him really awesome is the janitor at the school was an amateur recording buff. So he recorded the show, and it just kind of got lost over the years. And this is one of Monk's finest live performances with an awesome story behind it. So if you really want to check out something really unique sound, Thelonious Monk live at Palo Alto.
And he looked really cool. He had like his cool hat and his sunglasses, and he's all playing the piano. And he was just a cool dude.
He was just totally, he said, there are no wrong notes, only, I forgot how he said it. There was a phrase, because he would always play off key notes, and he had a phrase about there's no wrong notes. There's only.
I meant to do that as I wipe out and trip over air.
Was. He deliberately would do that because that was his style.
Yep.
So I still have a few more. I'm sorry. I'm still somebody that was pure genius that, and again, to mention Sinatra had referred to him as this, Ray Charles.
Oh, I love Ray Charles. I read his memoir. I
So
only remember one thing from it, though, and it's disgusting.
What is it?
Okay, so it starts out, and he said he had a boil on his ass when he was a kid, and it wouldn't pop. So he said he squatted and like he peed on a brick, and the steam from the hot brick rose up and popped the boil on his ass. And that's what I know about Ray Charles.
How did he know all of that was happening?
I have no idea if somebody was describing it in real time to him.
Right. Like, I feel like I'm not making a blind joke. Like, I just feel like.
Oh, I think I just did. I'm sorry.
No, neither of us. I just. What I say and what I say.
There's got to be better ways to pop a boil, don't you think?
Yeah, you're still in the boil. I feel like I just moved on.
Okay.
I'm getting a visual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, the things we learn on this podcast. I did not know that about him.
I hope I'm remembering that correctly. It happened to somebody somewhere, and I think it was Ray Charles. Your turn.
Oh, well. All right. Well, what did I say? Oh, that's the song. That's right. What I say. I meant the song. Okay. So then the part two, Do you know the story behind that song?
I don't.
Why
If it doesn't involve a brick and a boil, I don't know it.
you have your genre, you stick with it.
Yes, I stay in my lane.
I think the boil was a program director we had once. Because we had one that kept talking to us about his boil.
That is true. Oof.
Oh, these visuals. Okay, so Ray Charles was playing at a venue and they were running short on, like, they were going to be done early, and that could have led to some problems. I can't remember if it was in the South, which made it worse. So he decided just to improvise, and that's where What I Say came from. And it became what he closed his shows with as a tradition afterwards. So, I mean, it was only a single. It wasn't part of an album. But one album from his that I love is his album Live in Concert, 1965. So kind of like the Thelonious Monk thing, it has a fascinating backstory. Ray didn't know it was being recorded, but it ended up being one of his best live shows.
He
ever.
couldn't see the little red light, so.
He didn't, nobody told him, and he couldn't see the red light, as you said. But he also, I thought you were going to share this fact about him, that he definitely might not have been able to see, but he definitely liked the ladies.
Oh, he did, because I remember another quote from the book. The
What was it?
only other thing I remember from that book, he would just randomly, he'd think some lazy around, he's like, push it, smell, push it, is there push it?
Yes, and
He liked the
enjoyed it.
ladies.
He had 12 kids with 10 women.
There you go.
And when he died,
It
that
was
turned
around.
into a mess. Yeah, that turned into a mess when he died.
Yeah.
And I think 2 of the kids didn't show up to the reading of the will.
Oh.
Like, it was a whole
Wow.
thing. But he was a genius. I don't think anybody has existed musically that's a more of a genius than Ray Charles.
Love Ray Charles. I apologize to the estate of Ray Charles for imitating the great man like that. But that's what it said in the book.
All right, I believe you. Before you think I'm 80 years old, I
Okay.
probably should
If
throw
you're
some modern
80,
ones at you.
I'm 87.
Okay. I'm bad at math, so I don't know.
Okay.
The Dandy Warhols, 13 Tales from Urban Bohemia.
Oh, awesome.
I can listen to that straight through, and I can feel like I'm on drugs when I'm sober. That's that kind of album.
Didn't they play WEQX show?
Larkfest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you
Yeah,
and or I were there.
We were there.
Yeah.
And I got to interview them, and that album is a sonic adventure. It's the one that's got Bohemian Like You on it. Like,
It's so vibey. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
party, vibey, fun.
and that it's a great album, but the first 3 tracks play into each other, and it's almost like going into another realm when you listen to the 3 of them together.
Oh, that's what I
I
love
just
about
think-
music. It puts you in another dimension. It transports you.
And that album does. I would strongly recommend, if you want to listen to one all the way through, pick up 13 Tales from Urban Bohemia, Dandy Warhols.
Jimi Hendrix, are you experienced? The Jimi
Ooh,
Hendrix
tell-
experience.
What
Now,
does that do for you?
well, see, I was never like a pot smoker. So I think if I loved weed and smoked weed, it would have meant more. But I just love that album. It's like, it's got Mitch Mitchell's drumming, which I love. It's got Jimmy's soulful voice. It's got his electric guitar. It's got his guitar mastery. And the bass player, oh my God, if you listen to Manic Depression, those runs are insane. I just love that album.
That's another standout. Yes.
is an absolute time and place, just a masterpiece. But I think I would have appreciated it if I were a stoner a little more.
See, yeah, this thing, we get that. I'm not, but I get that. I appreciate that.
I hear my
gonna-
mom in my head going, "Are you on the pot?" No, Mom, I don't like it. I don't smoke it.
Are you on the pot?
Are you high on the pot?
Not right now.
Not. Maybe I gotta think about it. Oof.
I'm going to go all the way gay. Brace yourself.
Oh, do it. I've been waiting.
I am going to mention a Madonna album.
I love many Madonna albums. What is your favorite? Because I have a favorite Madonna album.
I have one I think is her masterpiece. I think it's her greatest work. I think it's one of the greatest albums of all time, period.
And it's not the Shanghai Surprise soundtrack.
How did you guess? And I think a lot of people, this album actually appears on a lot of lists too. Ray of Light.
I love Ray of Light. Ray of Light is a masterpiece.
And I think she was at her most beautiful then too.
Gorgeous.
Because she was just a mom
Yep.
and she was chill
Yep.
and she wasn't trying to be something.
She had that wavy hair and a tank
Yeah.
top, which probably cost like $1,400. It was like, no, it's just a little tank top. Just chill. And there's nothing chill about Madonna. Everything she does is super calculated. Even so, she looked natural and relaxed. Great album through and through.
Amazing. William Orbit is just a genius. And it was this first mainstream not splitting, but I'm trying to think of the word I want here. It was the first mainstream appearance of electronica music that was tied in with pop music. And what he did with that album, I mean, it stands the test of time. It doesn't sound dated. The lyrics are incredible. And a little fun fact about it. So she put Shanti Ashanti on there, which is people's least favorite because it's
Right.
a
Nobody
Kabbalah
liked that
prayer.
track. Yep.
That was the one track nobody liked. But because she was really into Kabbalah at that time, there were specific numbers in Kabbalah that were really important. I think there's 13 tracks on the album, and there was another song recorded for them called Has to Be. And it was supposed to be another, but it's a beautiful song too, that I really wish they'd included on the album and not the whatever. But it, the story goes through, and I just think the genius behind that album, and it's, even if you don't like Madonna, it should be in your collection.
The Power of Goodbye has amazing vocals.
And the strings too.
Absolutely gorgeous song.
Yeah.
Was that when she was friends with Rosie O'Donnell, or was that later or before? Did she
know.
kick Rosie to the curb at that point? It's like, Rosie, stay out of the studio. You're obnoxious. I have something good to do here.
There was an interview with Kurt Loder where he went into the studio with her recording the album, and there was no Rosie around. So
Okay, so I think we have our answer.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll throw a few others at you, and then I promise I'll stop. This is going to be a long episode. Radiohead. It's hard to pick a favorite Radiohead album, but In Rainbows might be to me the best one. I just think Radiohead always has a different sound, and In Rainbows was their 7th album. When we were at EQX, there were several of the singles that we played there from that album. I don't know if you're big into Radiohead.
I like Radiohead. I wouldn't say I go deep into their catalog, but I love a lot of Radiohead songs. But here's the kind of the irritating thing, and a lot of bands do this. The song that made them famous, that put them on the map, was Creep, which
and now they hate it.
They hate it.
Yep.
They didn't do live till like a couple of years ago. It's just such a predictable artiste thing to do, is to rebel against your famous song. It's like when Cyndi Lauper stopped doing Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and then on tour she finally did it, but she did a reggae version. Nobody wants to hear the reggae version of Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So I'm wondering, when they finally did Creep, was it kind of a calypso version or maybe skiffle? I don't know.
Madonna's like that too. She hates Like a Virgin. She hates a lot of her early stuff.
One of my favorite Madonna songs is Bad Girl.
Oh, was that a single? I don't even know.
It was a single. It was a brilliant movie-esque. It's from Erotica. And I think she only did that recently on the Celebration tour. She just ignores a lot of the hits.
Frank Sinatra hated My Way, which was one of his biggest songs.
But did he perform it? See, I don't care if you hate it. You have to do it.
Oh, there's some live albums and live recordings of Sinatra where he'll be like, there's one that's my favorite intro to My Way. He goes, I think this song's a piece of shit, but you love it.
But at least he did it. He's giving the audience what they want. I respect
he would tell
that.
them it's awful, but
that's
then he'd
hilarious.
sing it anyway.
That's so funny.
He hated it.
This one blows. Here you go.
Yeah, here you go, kids. He
do. Here you go.
To his credit too, he felt the song was just not him. It was just, he said the guy that's in that story is an arrogant asshole, and that's not him. That's not how he sees the world.
You've heard the Sid Vicious version of My Way?
No.
Oh yeah, that was he was trying to be a thing right after the Sex Pistols. Yeah, fuck that guy. You know how I feel about Sid. We covered it.
Whew, that would ruin any song. I got one for you. I'm gonna ask you one and see if you can remember. Then I'll tell you what mine is. What was the first album you ever owned?
It was going way back. Shaun Cassidy with Did Do Run Run on it.
Wow, that's actually a fun album.
And I love Shaun Cassidy. I love Shaun. I actually saw him a couple of years ago, and he's Eric was my husband, was pretty much the only guy there, but it was a short line for the men's room. I'll tell you that.
That's amazing.
It was Shaun Cassidy, and when I was little, that was also my first concert.
That is so cool. So that's a double. That's a double.
My plan was to marry him.
Well, that didn't work out.
No, it didn't. Oddly, I was convinced. I'm like, well, I'm 6 and he's old, so when I'm old, he'll marry me.
Oh, a girl can dream.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Sean's happily married.
Did you have a lunchbox
so
with his face on it?
No, but I had Shaun Cassidy pants. Now, his face. I'm so glad you asked. His face was on the leg, but I was a short, tiny little petite thing. So the leg was too long. So my mom hemmed the pants, and Shaun lost his neck and part of his chin.
That's horrible.
And I wore these to school with a mutant half monster Shaun Cassidy pant leg.
So I hate to break it to you, but you're never going to have a chance to marry him, even if you didn't have Eric, Because I have a better chance now, Kat.
Maybe I've made my peace with this. I'm a happily married person, but
No,
Sean's
he came out, right?
No, he's not gay. He's married.
Gay.
No, Shaun Cassidy's not gay. He has like 6 kids. He's married to his beautiful wife, Tracy. Who are you thinking of?
No. He had been previously married to her. He came out.
No, he hasn't.
Go ahead. You Google
wait
it.
a minute. No, I'm pushing back on this. He is not gay. Is Shaun Cassidy still alive is what pops up. Gay.
Yeah.
No.
Is that true or is that just some weird internet rumor?
Who are you thinking of?
Are
you thinking of a random Partridge Family person?
Google when did Shaun Cassidy come out? Just Google that. See what you get.
Shaun Cassidy. Oh no, it says die. Shaun Cassidy come out as gay. Generating.
I swear
There's
I read
nothing.
this somewhere.
There is not. No. Shaun is a straight man. If Shaun Cassidy were gay, I'd be like, yay for gay Shaun Cassidy. He is not gay Shaun Cassidy.
Why did I hear this?
Wishful thinking, Darwin. You love that feathered hair and that satin jacket.
He's like 66. I swear I knew that. I swear that I read this somewhere.
He's an older guy now.
Maybe I misremembered that.
I think you did. Sean, call me. Eric's fine with it. Call me.
You can still have him. All right.
He's not on your team, Darwin.
So my first album was, my mother decided to buy me a CD because I was really listening to all the like old vinyl they had. And this was not the first album I picked, but the first album I picked I loved, but not this one. And for some reason, Mom must have known on some level. She got me the Village People's Greatest Hits.
Oh, dear God. Was
like,
Fire Island on there?
I don't know. In the Navy. I don't know.
Macho Man.
Yes. And I was like, So the first album I chose when I could buy my own shortly after that, because I was like, thanks, Mom. Can I pick one?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the choosing right now.
Billy Joel, River of Dreams.
Oh, okay.
Which I still is one of my favorite albums.
Yeah. No, I've heard a lot of Billy Joel because my mom was into Billy Joel. But I just want to get back to the Village People for a sec, if I may.
Oh God.
Okay.
So
was your mom the type of lady like my mom was who didn't realize the Village People were gay? They could be on fire screaming about Fire Island. They're very handsome. I wonder if they have girlfriends.
My mother, when I got the album,
People
was like,
didn't know.
Mom knew. She was like, they're all gay, you know. But I think
your mom
one of them
was
gay. I think only one of them was gay. I don't think all of them were.
I think just maybe the electrician is bisexual. Mom, I don't think there's an electrician in the band.
They were really popular with the gays, but I think only one of them was. But either way.
No, only one person, I believe, in the Village People was straight.
Maybe I got it backward.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything firmly about anybody's gayness anymore.
I know you've lost your
wrong.
privilege.
I did. They keep revoking colors of my rainbow. I'm down to red.
Took your card back.
I'll give you one more because this album was so incredible. Now, I do not like most country music. I like Johnny Cash. I like I like some of that era legends.
I love classic country. I'm not a contemporary country gal.
Yeah, some of that I really like. Willie Nelson has some amazing stuff.
Yes, I love Dolly Parton.
I love Dolly. Absolutely. The one album that made me discover all of those other artists, except for Johnny Cash, because it's Johnny Cash.
Right.
Was an album that came out. It was her 42nd studio album, and it came out in 2004. It was made by somebody who idolized her. I know I'm building up to it.
Yeah, I know. I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
Jack White of the White Stripes. Absolutely, his idol for his whole life was Loretta Lynn.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that.
Yep.
Van Leer Rose, which is not available on Apple Music because of some rights dispute, and that sucks. But that album is one of the most incredible 40 minutes of your life you can spend with an album. And the duet they do together, Portland, Oregon, on there is just awesome. I'm speechless when I describe that album sometimes. We played that at EQX. We actually played Portland, Oregon.
That's right. I remember seeing Coal Miner's Daughter when I was little, many, many years ago. And that was a great movie with Sissy Spacek. She did her own singing in it. And she was from Butcher Holler, and it's how she made it. And I don't know if that movie holds up. Now you've totally reminded me to see Coal Miner's Daughter again. And Coal Miner's Daughter was, I believe, one of her albums from the early 70s, which is a great album too. And
when she made Van Leer Rose, she was 72 and still smoking a pack a day. Which, of course, ended up killing her eventually. But her voice was still there, which is incredible considering that. So I'm going to stop there because I have broken all the rules on every. But you can tell music is really important to us.
It really is. Yeah, the rules were just kind of shattered. They're spread out all over the floor, but worth it. Stacey's got to go a little crazy. But I have a story for you, Darwin.
Okay, let's wrap up with your really awesome story, and that will be how we end today's show.
I got into punk rock in the 7th grade, and this is way before punk was mainstream. So there was nothing commercial like Green Day or Hot Topic. Back then, you'd get beat up just for cutting your hair or wearing skinny pants or even having a band pin on your sweater. So I was one of 2 punk rockers in my middle school, and you can imagine how popular we were. So
I bet you were the most popular people, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because these were the days of Journey and REO Speedwagon and music by guys with big mustaches. Yeah. Everyone loved us. So after school one day, I'm walking up this steep sidewalk and it was called Agony Hill. You can imagine we were just trucking it, hoofing it up to make the bus on time home. And this car buzzes up behind me. And I look, and it's this mom, and she starts yelling, "Hey, punker! Hey, punker!" And I turn around, and I'm thinking, first of all, we're punks. We're not punkers. But I look, and I'm like, oh, my God. It's Jenny Shelton's mom, my nemesis. That's the girl who snapped my bra in math class and said, "Ew, nobody likes you." Her mother, who was just as big a bitch. So this
adult woman.
An adult woman. Unhinged.
Bullying a 7th grader.
Yes, and
in the street.
This is how threatening, and I'm using quotes, punk rock was at the time. So this unhinged woman now slows to a crawl. And now there's cars like backing up behind her. And I look at her and I'm like, what? And she said, "Why don't you go pogo right into a garbage can, punker?" And
What's pogo?
Pogo is the jumping up and down dance.
Oh, like a pogo stick.
Yeah, that the punk rockers did. So she said, "Why don't you go pogo right into a garbage can, punker?" And she took a bag, and it was a Burger King bag, and she threw it at me, and it hit the curb, and it exploded. Boom! And I jumped back, and all I could think to say was, "Oh, yay, food," before she sped off.
What?
So,
and
yeah.
it's so vivid in your mind. You remember specifically
every moment of that.
Burger King bag.
Seriously, these were the hazards of being a punk in the olden days, kids. Like, you might have to dodge a strawberry shake from an unhinged, screaming mom, but at least my music didn't suck.
Now, do you have Burger King trauma? Do you not like Home of the Whopper?
Yeah, you know what? I've never really been back to a Burger King.
I could see that causing damage.
Yeah. No Whopper Jr. for me.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. But I think it's hilarious. Like, can you imagine getting so upset that this, like, little girl is walking up the hill with, like, I mean, I had a Trapper Keeper notebook with a picture of Blondie on it. I mean, that's not really the most threatening punk rock band, but it was crazy for the day. So yeah,
speaking of Burger King, I'm sure her mom has been flame broiled. She's screaming up at us right now.
I know, she's roasting in those charbroiled flames
of hell. And she thought you were going to end up there.
No, everybody thought I was the bad kid because, like, ooh, scary punk rocker who's 4'11".
Oh, all right. So that is how we're ending today. Kat was assaulted with a Burger King bag by Jenny Shelton's mom.
Just for being punk rock. Stay strong, punks.
You can be as punk as you want now.
God bless America. Darwin, thank you for breaking the rules because I feel like I've learned a lot about you today.
And the same, and you too.
Thanks.
Yeah, you knew I was a music nerd, but not this bad.
It goes deep. It goes deep for both of us.
Yeah, I will say one last thing I'll close on. Remember I had a mohawk a lot of the time we were on the radio? And there was one time I didn't really do a full mohawk, but it was there. And I was at basically Price Chopper. And this guy 4 lanes down checking out started yelling at me, hey, you, punk. And I looked up and he was like, punk is dead. Look at you. You killed it.
And then did you say, Jenny? Are you Jenny Shelton's dad?
Toilet, 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 toilet.